Hi everybody, this is Property with Leonard and welcome to another episode. Now on this channel we discuss property, finance and investments. Now please note that none of my videos constitutes as financial advice, but if you are looking for financial advice, please speak to an accredited and registered financial advisor. Now when you hear terms like property auctions or sale in execution or distressed properties, the thoughts that often come to mind, especially for the layperson, is things like cheap prices, things below market value, bargains, huge profits, easy money, quick flips, things like that. Now I've started my property journey in the early 2000s, and I remember around 2008 the market came tumbling down, and around about that time and for some time after that, auctions was happening all over the place. And I guess much of the perception of bargains to be bought at auctions were derived from that era, especially to people like myself who did business throughout that time period. Distressed properties can offer buyers good value for money, and I would like to place the emphasis, please get this, I would like to place the emphasis on the fact that it can offer you as the buyer good value for money. It is a possibility, but you need to realize, and that's very important, that it also carries risks, and there is simply no guarantee. There are bargains to be had or to be bought when considering purchasing a house that has been, or property for that matter, that has been repossessed by a bank. But I have to warn you that there are risks in this form of property acquisition as well. And of course, the sale of distressed properties, it can offer you great value for money, but you need to know what you are doing. And in this episode, I'm going to explain and share with you, firstly, the three basic types of sales that fall into this category, because it's important that you understand the difference and familiarize yourself, very importantly, with the difference, with them. And also where to find repossessed properties should you be interested, and the benefits and risks of buying distressed properties on auctions. And I will explain to you how auctions work as well, what to expect and what to do. And these are things that you need to know before, very importantly, before even considering buying a property on an auction, or I guess through any other means for that matter. And if you prefer to skip to certain sections of this video, I would obviously advise you to watch the whole video, but you can always check out the timestamps in the description below, and I always pin it as a comment as well, so you can just check below. It just makes it easier for you to navigate through this video. So firstly, when approaching the distressed property market, you as a novice, somebody who's interested in it, it is important to understand the three basic types of sales that falls into this category. Now these are bank mandated sales, sales in execution, and properties in possession. And it's important that you understand that each one of these that I've just mentioned has its own processes that can affect the price and of course the potential value of the property for sale. So let me explain to you what bank mandated property sales are. Now this is usually a voluntary step taken by the mortgage holder to resolve a situation when their bond repayments have fallen irrevocably into arrears. Now the mortgage holder gives the bank a mandate to sell the property on their behalf in order to settle their debt. And the bank is then responsible for hiring a real estate agent to market and facilitate the sale. And if the property doesn't sell, or the owner refuses to accept an offer in spite of their debt, the bank will then process with legal action. And the bank must obtain a judgment from the High Court against the defaulter, after which the property can be attached and of course sold by the sheriff at a sale in execution or an auction as we know it. If a property doesn't reach its minimum reserve price on auction, it is bought back by the bank and becomes a property in possession, also known as a bank repossessed property. So that is basically what bank mandated sales or sale in execution and property in possession means. So just to recap, the first one was bank mandated property sales. As I mentioned, this is usually a voluntary step taken by the mortgage holder to resolve a situation when their bond repayments have fallen irrevocably in arrears. It's people like you and me who owe the bank money and they are not able to repay their monthly bond repayments, and there is no prospect of doing so in the near future, so they are about to lose their property, etc. And then they approach the bank. And then they go through the process as I just explained to you. The bank then hire a real estate agent to market and facilitate the sale. And of course, if the property doesn't sell or the owner refuses to accept offers in spite of the debt, the bank will then proceed with legal action, as I mentioned before. And just some advice to you. If you find yourself in a position where you fall behind on your mortgage payments, or perhaps you've lost your job and there's no immediate positive prospect of you getting another job, and thus you won't be able to pay your bond, you must be proactive. Don't wait for the bank to start pushing you, requesting that you pay the arrears, and obviously in effect forcing you to settle your arrear payments. You can be proactive. Put your house on the market and appoint an estate agent yourself, and chances are you will get a much better price for your house. You will get a much better price for your house because you're not so pressed for time, firstly, and you secondly will be in control of the process, if you understand what I'm saying. However, in my business, I've seen numerous times that people wait to the last minute in the hope that something miraculous will happen, and then they lose out big time. Because when it comes to the sale in execution, you need to get this. You're on your own, and you're at the mercy of others who most definitely don't have your best interest at heart. And the bank will most probably hold your account still when the property is sold for less than what you owe them. So it is important. Even if you put the property on the market yourself, you will most probably get the best return. So the $1 million question is, where do you find repossessed properties for sale? Now, sales in execution are firstly advertised in the government gazette. You can also find it, the respective sheriffs also have lists of these upcoming sales, which you as a prospective buyer or purchaser can view. So if the property is not sold at an auction, this property become a property in possession, and those properties are marketed or advertised on the bank's websites and obviously also various estate agents. Or you can just Google repossessed properties or bank sales. There should be quite a lot of information online. Now, the benefits of buying a distressed property, the biggest one is the potential, obviously, of buying a bargain, and that's exactly what people look for at auctions. If you make the right investments, this is a perfect way to create wealth, because the possibility of buying a property below market value is much higher at an auction, but in the same breath, you need to do your homework. Otherwise, you might be making a huge and very costly mistake. And also, buyers of repossessed homes usually do not pay transfer duty, as the selling bank absorbs that expense. But this doesn't necessarily mean that a property will be sold for less than if buying directly from the previous owner. And that is an important point to take into consideration, and you need to be aware of it. You need to know the market, and you need to be aware of what properties go for in the area. Otherwise, you will get the short end of the stick in the deal. You can't just rock up at an auction, put a deposit down, start bidding, because you are under the perception that properties at auctions are bought at below market value at giveaway prices. It unfortunately doesn't happen that way. So why do I say this? Because the bank is not a charity. Trust me, you know it. And both the bank and the previous owner will attempt all avenues to sell the property at market value or at the highest possible selling price, even at the auction. Another thing that you need to take into consideration, I'm sharing this information with you, but there are a lot of people out there who knows this, and they always look out for possible sales and auctions, etc. And if there's money to be made and wealth to be created, it goes without saying there will be a lot of people in line to take their chance, to take advantage of the opportunity. What I really want to bring across very clearly to you is that there is a lot of risk involved. High returns, but there is a lot of risk involved as well. For example, the condition of the property, good or vandalized, and whether it is illegally occupied or vacant, it will most definitely impact the amount that you as a buyer will offer on the property if you did your homework. And also, a seller in financial distress, just think about it, might also have unrealistic expectations of the property value, and this is an important factor to bear in mind. So what are the risks in buying a distressed property? Firstly, if you are not buying cash, this is also very important. You need to make sure that you get finance and you have it in place before you go to the auction. There is a limited time that you have to get your finances in place after the fall of the hammer. And seeing that you are legally bound to purchase the property by then, there might be, if you don't get your finances in place, penalties and interest and legal costs involved should you not be able to come up with the balance of the finance, the balance of the purchase price. And don't forget about the sheriff's commission, very importantly, outstanding rates and taxes and levies if applicable. All these get added to the purchase price. And that is why another very important point, you need to familiarize yourself with the terms and conditions of the contract of sale before you start to bid, because if you don't, you might just get some nasty surprises. And it's important that you read the fine print on the conditions of sale. It's also good for you to arrive at the auction quite early so that you have time to go through that you familiarize yourself. So just to reiterate, reading the fine print of the condition of sale very carefully is absolutely important. Another risk and possible negatives include the fact that the property may be in a poor condition or vandalized, and you will then have to spend some money to repair and improve the property. And a property may also be illegally occupied, which often means that you won't be able, as I just mentioned earlier, you won't be able to view the property, which in itself is a huge risk. And if you buy the property with the current tenants who refuse to move, it will be to your account and it will be your responsibility to get an eviction order. And this evictions is a time-consuming and very costly affair, and you have to pay for it. Eviction, like I said, it can be tedious, costly, frustrating process. It can be time-consuming, and you just need to be aware of it. And another point that people don't really think about, but that's why you watch my videos, you subscribe to my channel, you like these videos, you share it, and all those other things, because you help me to grow this channel, and that way we will be able to reach more people who you and I know can benefit from the contents of these videos. Now the point is, often repossessed properties have normally been on the market at least once before without selling, and you as the potential buyer, you should be aware of that, because there may be a good reason for this, that the property didn't sell. And just another point to note, and that is that repossessed properties are often fixer-uppers. Now, let me explain it to you this way. If a mortgage holder can't afford his or her mortgage repayments, it's unlikely that they are going to have had much money to spend on the upkeep and the maintenance and improvements on the property. So when you buy, you need to factor that in as well. And you also need to be aware that repossessed properties, this is very important, repossessed properties are sold footsteps. So the purchaser, which is you, takes ownership and accept responsibility for the property condition as is, and you will be responsible for any repairs and or maintenance. You're buying it as is. Once the hammer falls, there is no turning back. You can lose your deposit. As I mentioned earlier, as well, if you are not sure what is meant by this, a deposit. Now, if you intend to bid in an auction, you have to put down a deposit to secure your bidding number. And if you can't come up with the balance of the purchase price, let me just go slow here, or you cancel after you won the bid, you may lose your deposit. You could possibly be liable for penalties, interest, and legal costs. And some auctioneers will even ban you from bidding at any of their future auctions until you settle all costs or legal fees with them. There are so much to take into consideration. Risk, as they say, is absolutely fundamental to investing, but you can limit your risk significantly by doing your homework, by knowing the market, by being aware of what you're getting yourself into, and of course, subscribing to my channel, liking this video, sharing it. And thank you so much, everybody, for once again joining me on today's episode. Now, if this episode was of value to you, can I kindly ask you, if you haven't, to please subscribe to my channel, to like this video, to share it, and leave me a comment in the comment section below. I'm particularly looking forward to your comments on this video. I would like to see where your thoughts are, and if you are interested in pursuing buying property on auctions. And I mean, if you haven't subscribed yet and you don't know how to do it, trust me, it is very easy. You can just click that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, and please remember to hit the all notifications, and that way you will be notified and you won't miss out whenever I upload new videos. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Stay blessed.